you must burn on both ends.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't go and come through this hard life, which theater life means always.
Yeah,
If you don't burn for the theater and you keep your enthusiasm the whole life, then you should give up.
What you're about to see here at the beautiful Gertnerplatz Theater in Munich, Germany, is a charming conversation between two friends, Josef Köplinger, who is the intendant here, and the living legend, mezzo-soprano Brigitte Fassbender. We hope you enjoy. Frau Fassbender and Herr Köplinger, thank you so much for being here. It's a delight to welcome you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too.
So normally on this show, I have the task of making portraits, if you will, conversations and highlighting the artistic process. But I think since I'm highlighting the two of you here together, there's an interesting opportunity to show the role of friendship in the musical life. And I'm curious to ask how the two of you met.
I knew him as a wonderful director, stage director, and I saw several of his productions in his earlier times and was always fascinated by the brilliance. What happened on stage was always full of temperament and brilliant and full of life, and I admired it very much and I learned a lot.
My first live meeting was when I was 13. Brigitte was 18. No, just...
Not at all.
And I went for an autograph after a performance of the Rosenkavalier in Vienna State Opera. And I was, I say always, after my mother gave birth, everything was laying in the theaters of Vienna because I was in the standing rooms, and so I went for an autograph. And I went there and was a little nervous and said, "Please, would you be so kind?" And the first sentence Brigitte said was, "Oh, so young." So this was it. And very friendly, and I was deeply impressed. So, and then Brigitte was in the commission of the Headhunter, whatever association. I had to go through to get the job of the country theater in Klagenfurt for the artistic director. And there we met again, and since then I always saw productions of Brigitte, and I love her as a directrice. And then I decided in my first year here in 12-13 I asked her, "Would you be so kind to make a Don Pasquale?" And Brigitte said sofort, "Yes, I'll do," and it's still running with huge success.
I wanted to continue the theme of friendship by taking for a moment to remember the late Christa Ludwig. I'm curious to know, of course we're familiar with her legacy and her reputation, but I'm curious to know what was unique about her to you? What did she represent in your personal experience?
All I can say is that I admired her from my school time on. These 10 years, she's 10, 15 years, are always one singer generation. So she was just going in a great career when I still was going to school, into the school. So I admired her and followed her as a listener with all her opera appearances and stage appearances, concert and opera in Salzburg and anyway. And then later we sang together once in the Metropolitan in New York. And I was so full of respect that I was absolutely... my Octavian was what I have written about her. I was deeply in her shadow. And then later, much later, it came to the situation that I went to one of her last concerts. She made a huge a huge farewell tour with her recitals. And I went to her Winterreise, and I was really very touched and very moved by her interpretation and her wisdom, and and I could feel that it was a difficult evening for her emotionally. And afterwards I went to her dressing room and thanked her and said, "Thank you very much, it was a great evening." And she took my hand and looked at me and said, "Do you know how difficult that evening was for me?" And I said, "Yes, Krista, I know." It was one of her last appearances. And from this moment on, actually for me, inside, the ice was broken. I felt really enormous, warm-hearted, without any devotion, so to say. Yeah. So, and then our ways crossed often in the personal life. And she invited me to Vienna, to her house, and we had nice contact. Also, she wrote me emails and SMS, and I wrote back, and I wrote in a book about her. And so the contact was now in a very friendly and friendship-wise. And so it was until the end. And then for several weeks, I wrote to her in the beginning of the Corona time, and I asked her, "Are you protected, and how are you, and can I do something, and what's the matter?" And she wrote back, "No, I'm fine." And that was the last I heard from her. And until some weeks ago, I got the message of her death, and I was really erschüttert. Wie heißt das?
Tremendous.
Yes. I was really
sad, touched.
Very, very sad, because she was a strange person. Not often I could accept what she thought and said. She was so spontaneous and over with her temperament. She said everything. What went through her mind without thinking about, And so sometimes it was a little bit controversial, but she was a great personality and a wonderful character, and I will miss her. She will be missed on Earth, in the musical world.
In your artistic lives, did you feel that you were able to present yourselves in a vulnerable way, if that was of value to your art?
I was not good in presenting me. Yeah? Till today, if I have to go in front of the curtain to make an announcement, everybody says, "Hey, you're speaking so open," and I'm dying. I hate it. Yeah? In a role as an actor, it was easy because there was the figure. Yeah. But as me, yeah, this is awful.
I had
horrible.
The same.
Yeah?
I had lifelong. I had to suffer a lot from, we say, Lampenfieber.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that means in English. Lampenfieber. Your nerves are very
stage fright.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, was heißt der Trieb? Der Trieb war so stark. I always, before I went on stage, I always felt like a lamb in front of the slaughter, And I always, I always thought, oh my God, I would love to have a profession, something like a gardener or something like that. Yeah. It took me such a lot of Überwindung, was das heißt,
to convince
over this, to step on stage, but in a way, there was nothing else to do. Then I came out, and then it took some minutes, and then I felt the wavelength from the public, and that we are on the same level, and I gave what I could. And they took it or not, but they gave me also a lot. It was always a change of of doing and feeling and emotion. There was never a question for me to do something else. Only when I got so under nerve stress that I always, sometimes, yeah, really, in my life, because you more you work and you further you come, the more your own responsibility grows. But sometimes it's really in such a life what I had that you really want to step back and say, I can't anymore. It's too much. It's too much. The regeneration of emotional feelings is running out in a way. And this is also one reason I stopped that early, rather early.
Yeah, although the voice is...
Because it was not
as great.
Only the question of the voice, but also...
Was it depression?
No, not at all. I felt it's enough now. I couldn't fulfill my own Ansprüche. My own. I couldn't fulfill anymore my own expectations about my work, so to say.
If I would not burn anymore, if I am coming in the house and not looking at this beauty, loving my whole theater family, and feeling not strong enough, or repeating myself, not having a few new ideas. You don't have to change the theater. It's the biggest misunderstanding in arts. Create some new. No, there are so many pieces, so many wonderful pieces. Do them. Yeah, give the people the chance to see different, modern, not modern, non-modern, new, old. If I would feel I'm not awake enough, I would go the next day. I would not stay one day longer. Yeah. Because this is the responsibility you're carrying also, to recognize if it's enough. Some people are not recognizing when it's enough and going on. There's always a life on the other side. I don't mean after death, but the fighting of Eros and Thanatos, which is in Ariadne, for example, the two big, mighty powers in life. It's in each opera, and that's theater.
So to say,
we are creating not to die. All artists are creating not to die, to stay. Stay for a moment, for a day, for a year, for 10, 100 years, whatever.
Well, this is not an enormous theme. We could go on and on and on about that.
There were artists like Carlos Kleiber who worked with such precision and, I feel, wanted to leave nothing to chance. But then there were other artists like Sviatoslav Richter who said, it is the unexpected which makes an impression. Yeah. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, is there maybe even a beauty in something that you can't control, having worked at your craft for so many years?
We would have not to tell any story on theater if the world would be perfect. It's a mirror. The whole theater life is a mirror which deeply let us show in our soul or in the souls of other people. Perfection is important. It's like a mountain pike. Yeah? We go up to the climax.
We try to be as perfect as possible. Yes. But the theater work, the stage work, it's not possible to be perfect because it's too much happening and too many people are working on one target, and often we are happy if it's 70-80%.
Yeah. I think we should reflect back into us and to see what we can do better, and not get rid of to have fun. The hedonistic way of life, it's so important. Therefore, theater is also there for entertainment. It's always entertainment. Everything, even Macbeth, a very tragic opera, or Tosca, is entertainment at the end. It's always a play. It's an unreal play because we are singing things we would say normally. And even if we say it, we are acting a part. That means that I think that beauty, what is beautiful? If I ask Brigitte, do you find this beautiful? She says, yes. I say, I don't like it so much. But it could be art at the end. So it is always a point of view from the how you say, the Betrachter, from the person who is looking to the stuff. Observer, from the observer. It depends on the opinion of the observer, who find one thing
yeah,
beautiful and the other thing not.
This
But
question of taste, always a subject
Yeah.
is taste. Even with voices, huh?
Yeah,
One
absolutely.
person loves this voice, the other one loves it. This is a question of timbre, and for stage directing, it always stays open such a lot which we can't fulfill with all our will to give the best. We always try to give the best. If you are a singer or a pianist or director, you always try, as an artist, you try to give your best. And 1,000%. We enjoy our work, but it's not just fun. It's
No.
just so superficial. It's deep and serious work, and always every step we are doing is coming from our deepest artistic feelings. When
Yes.
the curtain rises, it should be on stage as natural as possible, and so playful and light-hearted if it's a comedy, and nobody should know actually and should notice how much work is behind that, you know. And anyway, nobody understands our work. They
No.
always ask, what are you doing the day over?
yeah, they asked me in Switzerland when I became for drama,
Yeah.
the artistic director for drama in
Yeah.
Switzerland. I met a person on the market space, and he said, "Oh, are you the new one?" I said, "Yes." And in the news were written, it was 16 years ago, I was very young, and they were he looks a little like Johnny Depp. I have to apologize by Johnny Depp. He's much more beautiful than me, but and he looked at me and said, "Oh, you're not looking like Johnny Depp." I say, "I apologize for this. Yeah, I didn't write it." And then he said, "What are you doing for your main profession?" And I was running a big house for drama, and I said, "I'm dealing with a pizza home service." Oh, then he gets satisfied and say, "Oh, then it's okay, it's fine."
Yeah.
So and then I was saying, okay, how long I could live in a town where people think that drama has to work beside to have the life base.
I'm so curious to ask, knowing the expectations of the public, knowing the expectations of yourselves, having done this work, do you feel like there's room for risk in your work?
Yes. Without any risk, it's nothing. It's boring. You must risk always something, and risk a lot, actually.
Everything. For an example,
The whole life is a risk, and stage life anyway.
if there's
You
no
never
risk,
have a guarantee if it's working. It's your personal risk.
Did you feel a certain space in your musical lives, in your theatrical lives, to be able to make mistakes?
of course. Without mistakes, we wouldn't learn. But to make a mistake is one thing. To recognize the mistake or having people that tell you, "Come on, it would not be good," or "It was not good," it's the second one. And the third one is to agree with the critic and then to think about it and not doing the mistake again. That's a learning process we have from baby age on till we die, hopefully in a late age.
What I felt my whole life, and even now in my age, I feel it still. It's all a try. I always tried something and tried to be as honest and as professional as possible. That was my target in life, and still going on. That I feel, and I have a lot of productions in front of me, thank God, that I always feel I start from point zero with all the knowledge one has, but with every production you start actually from point zero, and it's a huge try to reach a good result. It's always something, an adventure. It's an absolute, it stays an adventure, and that is what makes our life so colorful and so
I can agree for
fascinating.
100%. And to say about the risk, our theater is the opera comique, we would say. Yeah? It's the second house. We have the wonderful, huge sister, the Bavarian State Opera House.
It's not the second house.
No,
There's-
it's clear.
It's not
the
a
second
category.
house. No, but just to the viewers and
It's another style of
Yeah.
making music and making theater, and it is good.
We are connecting opera, operetta,
Fantastic,
musical,
yeah.
and dance. So that means, this is the 9th year I'm running the house. now. For the first 5 years, it was rebuilt. So we were traveling around Munich in different houses. Then Corona comes. So, but what we have to realize is that the risk we did is that we have with Schubert now, when I count all the ballet first runs, the youth theater first runs, world premieres, we have 26 world premieres, first performance. Beside My Fair Lady, Aida, Tosca, Fledermaus, not Vienna Blood, operettas, Little White Horse Inn, Dance, Prokofiev, Romeo and Juliet, and so on and so on. This is not risk. That's our responsibility we have to art or for art to create what
But it's
Brigitte
a
said.
personal risk.
Of course, it's my personal risk. If I have to be clever, because it's also a financial system, I can't play 2 times My Fair Lady and 20 times an opera first performance. You can, in one season, you can start with Monteverdi and end up by Johanna von Doderer, the composer of Schubert's Journey to Atzenbruck, our world first premiere, which is on Sunday here. Mm-hmm. So you can show the whole world of sound in one season if you make your program. That's the fulfillment in my soul, to go in one season through a musically world.
But this is truly only looked, not only, but looked through your eyes as a director of a house. Mm. But what I meant is overlooking, can one say, overlooking a whole life of creativity. And it's all so I have to be very personal. All what I tried in life was a real try.
Yeah, that's every day.
And not more. And
no,
that's enough.
every day, yeah.
And it's enough.
And there's no try without any risk. And the moments of applause.
And if the result is getting a huge success, then one is on knees.
Yeah. The dignity. You should keep dignity, respect, and to be really thankful. To sitting, to be honest, beside Brigitte.
Be humble. Be humble in life.
Yeah, that's really.
What all you got as a gift from wherever. Yeah. To fulfill in life, and to the possibilities you had in life, and I had in life, and we have in life still. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And to sit beside you, Brigitte, I know you don't want to hear this, no, but
really not.
You see, this is what you said at the beginning. This is, I never will forget. To talk with Zubin Mehta short time ago, which I admire. To sit in young years, very young years, beside Bernstein and talk about his mass production. Me as a young chorus
Fantastic.
singer. Yeah, we will do this soon, mass here. We try to do it. Adam Cooper, the famous dancer and musical star, is directing. And to sit beside institutions like Brigitte, that I can only say thank you to life. This was possible because these guys like Brigitte, it's really not slimy, it's really true. These guys were my inspiration to be brave enough to step into this profession, because I am from Lower Austria, from a little town. I didn't even know how to write the word regisseur, director. I just had to do it. This was in me, yeah? And people like Brigitte and others gave me the inspiration to be brave enough to step into this life.
On this subject of bravery and artistic courage and trust in ourselves, I'm often asking performers about stage fright and how long it took them to be able to be well with themselves. Is there anything that you can share from your own experiences that might be of help to people who don't find their courage yet?
To be honest, if people don't find the courage, they should leave it. Because if you are not... It's not so. I can speak for many singers, but I do it only for me. Because I think I'm not allowed to speak for any famous or non-famous singers, actors, pianists, musicians. I was so not afraid. I was convinced I have to do something on theater, to act, to pull the curtain up and down, whatever. I had to smell this theater smelling, the dust, everything. But you have to find your own way. It's a stony way. It could get fast, it could get slow. There's a lot of depression moments where you think, okay, that's not fair. Life isn't always fair. We can try our best to make it more fair. But you have to go your way alone. Nobody can help you at the end. Yeah, but I have family. Then think about it. There are a lot of freelance jobs. Yeah, you always are taking a risk. I think what I said before, we should take the risk, but we should not complain. We should think before what it means to be an artist. To be an artist is always to be, in first way, an artist. An artist, an artist.
Yeah, you become an artist.
Yeah, you become an
develop
artist.
to
Yeah.
an artist.
You develop.
It takes time. You're not born as an artist.
No, nobody is. Yeah.
Your creativity. Eh?
Your soul is open for
Yes,
it.
yes.
And the
But then-
talent may be
but
there.
There
but
is one simple phrase: you must burn on both ends.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't go and come through this hard life, which theater life means always.
Yeah,
If you don't burn for the theater and you keep your enthusiasm the whole life, then you should give up. So I'm as well a teacher. I'm teaching in master classes, and so when I see all the young singers, the Nachwuchs, then I really know she is burning, he is not. He is burning, she is not. So you feel it, how the whole personality, the whole attitude
Is
to
there from
this
the
profession
beginning on,
is there, and you can see it in the eyes. I always see it in the eyes.
And sometimes it's hidden. Like I say, open the curtain.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think I've heard once. I think it was it Sonny McDonald? I don't know. Somebody said to me, if you go on stage, yeah, puke your soul on stage. Don't hold it back. I say, okay, I'm not liking to puke, but I know exactly what you mean. The soul should be seen. Not everything of the soul, but the soul of the character. Therefore, you need an open soul. Yeah. And therefore, theater is so beautiful because people are touching me when they are open. Anyway. Therefore, I always say the best Octavian I've ever seen was her Octavian, because it was open and right with the words from the first moment on.
We are not here to talk about something like that.
I know.
Talking in general.
Yeah, but
about
I have to say it because this was one of
life
the
and
biggest
art.
inspirations. Yeah.
So I very quickly wanted to conclude by saying we're sitting here in the Gärtnerplatz Theater and sitting here as friends. How does it feel to be here? What inspires you about each other? What inspires you about being here? And what are your hopes for the future?
I think he's a wonderful director of a theater. He is a very, wie sagt man, clever and geschickt. Wie sagt man das? Weiß ich. He's very
Clever,
well-doing, working with his theater family. And he did a wonderful job. He's doing a wonderful job with this house, which got an enormous Stellenwert, reputation in Munich, especially under his leading, and I think the house is the atmosphere in the house and how the house is wie es sich darstellt.
How it's built and how it's there is.
What you feel in the house is a wonderful atmosphere, a very professional and wonderful atmosphere, and I like it very much. Being here, coming into this house, being in this atmosphere, it's great, and he does a great job. That's it. He's a wonderful theater man. One of the best in Germany in this time, I feel.
I'm blushing. No, thank you, Brigitte. But I think the inspiration, this that I said before, where it comes from. But there's one thing more: authenticity. Authenticity. Sorry, not think German and speak English. It's always a mistake. Be happy that it's not in Italian. It would be a disaster. But there's one more. Humanity, opener, and humor. After all, there's a huge portion of humor. I have a
Yes.
problem, and the fourth way is, Brigitte and me, we love animals. People who are not respecting animals, I can't deal with them very much. It's strange, because there's respect for the whole world. I'm in no religion ever, yeah?
Yeah.
But it sounds so, yeah? There is respect. The respect starts in very small thing. I made mistakes my whole life. I can
too.
yeah, everybody, yeah? But what brings us together, I don't know. The secret of any way of love, friendship, is don't make a definition. Just take it.
Yeah.
Take it as a big gift, and don't try. In our society today,
It's not
everybody
that
has
we
to be
see each
analyzed.
other
yeah.
all the time. It's
No,
but when we
sometimes
see
we are,
us,
yeah.
but when we see us, this is never a barrier. It's always as have we seen last day.
And this was from the
yesterday.
first moment on.
Yeah,
This is the sign.
This is the sign of good understanding as friends, I think.
Yeah, and I think nobody can take us away.
That can stay forever.
Yeah. It will. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much to the both of you for your
was a
time and
pleasure.
for being here and speaking about life and music. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.